Hi guys, Mr. Quinn here. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you about the threat of communism. This is an activity and a little one paragraph thing that you guys were supposed to respond to, and if you're having trouble, that's okay. I want to walk you through it very quickly. So, as you'll see here on the screen, we are at the threat of communism, the assignment on Canvas under modules. So, you're supposed to review and weigh the documents in this activity. Based on those documents you reviewed, write a paragraph that explains whether there was a communist threat in the U.S. during the Cold War, and we want you to use support from at least 3 documents. Since this is only a paragraph, it should not be that bad. Now, remember, you're not answering the question, is communism dangerous, are communists bad, etc. You guys probably know enough that communism is typically not a really nice system to use. People are not free. Everything's controlled by the government. And pretty much every time communist countries are started, they fail, within some time. In any case, so we see this activity here. You're just saying, was there an actual danger from communists in the United States in the 1950s? So if you click that activity, you are going to get this thing called weighing the evidence. The threat of communism, real or perceived? Meaning, is there a real threat against the United States of communists here in America, or are people just kind of losing their minds over nothing? So, there is this kind of cool balance beam or scale type thing that you can use, and you put different documents on and stuff, and it's kind of neat. But just to fast forward, I think that you guys might need some help with the documents. So, if you click on each of these documents, and I'm actually going to put up, attached to this assignment or this post, a list of the documents along with what they mean or what they stand for. And actually, here it is right now. So, the threat of communism documents. The first one is a brochure entitled, Is Communism Un-American? And I'm actually just going to show you the picture here. It is actually a document that was put out by the Communist Party of the United States itself. 9 questions about the Communist Party answered. Now, since this is written by communists, they're naturally going to say that they're wonderful. I don't know if you could see here, it says DX number 3. This is actually Defense Exhibit number 3. This was used in a case against the American Communist Party, and specifically this guy, Eugene Dennis. Actually went up to the Supreme Court. Biggest thing you need to know is that it is a brochure saying that the Communist Party is great. So the next thing is the cover plan for a downed U-2 flight. Now, if you are not an aviation geek like me, you might not know what the heck a U-2 is other than the Irish rock band, who are pretty damn cool. So the U-2 is a spy plane that flew so high in the atmosphere, it was believed that no missile, no gun could shoot it down. Well, the Soviet Union eventually developed a surface-to-air missile that actually could shoot it down, and it did. The U-2 was shot down flying over the USSR, and it was shot down spying. It had very powerful cameras to look at different Russian cities and bases. So they shot it down, and immediately the U.S. released a cover story to say that the plane was on a weather mission and it accidentally flew into Soviet territory, and that's what happened. They didn't know the pilot and the parts of the plane survived. They questioned the pilots. This pilot ejected out of his cockpit, lived, but he actually told the Soviets under, interrogation what he was there for and all that. And some of the aircraft wreckage survived, and they found things like these giant cameras, which have nothing to do with weather. It's all about spying. It was pretty embarrassing for the United States, but it showed that the United States was actively spying on the Soviet Union. This next thing, the Ethel Rosenberg arrest photograph. Now, if you see this photo here, you see this kind of plain-looking lady. She has her hands in her pockets of her skirt. She's just over 5 feet tall, so she's a little, unassuming woman. She is, however, she doesn't look dangerous, but the United States arrest her and her husband for espionage. Now, if you go back here to my description, so she and Julius Rosenberg were working on nuclear weapons for the United States government. They were arrested and convicted of conspiracy to commit espionage, spying, for giving classified nuclear documents to the Soviet Union. And again, this shows a woman who's just kind of plain and all that. Now, relating to the Rosenbergs, here's kind of an interesting thing. This is a box of Jell-O, and you might say, what the heck is a box of Jell-O doing there? Well, this box of Jell-O was actually used to confirm at a secret meeting that the person you were supposed to be meeting with, who you did not know, was the actual person and not like an FBI agent. It's kind of like when you double check your Uber driver's photo and also their license plate and make and model of the car just to be sure. So apparently what would happen is, if you see here down at the bottom, they ripped off a piece, gave it to one person, and they gave it the other piece to another person. So when those two other people met to exchange secret documents who did not know each other, they'd be able to match them up and figure out, oh, this is the person we're looking for. This isn't, an undercover FBI agent. So kind of clever. Next, you have a letter from President Eisenhower to Governor George Craig. Sorry about that. Here's the letter. And all you have to do is look here, and it's a letter from the president to this guy, Governor Craig. It talks about McCarthyism. Eisenhower is definitely anti-communist, doesn't like communism, but he also knows that this guy named Senator Joseph McCarthy, who is randomly calling people out for being communists without evidence, without a trial, and embarrassing them, and in cases having them fired or sullying their names, is really not good. Eisenhower is saying that while I don't like communism, I really don't like this McCarthy guy just going around shooting his mouth off and accusing people with no evidence. This next thing, and again, if you think I'm going too fast, that's okay. You could rewind and show this and play this over and over again during our quarantine fun. This is a document that says Oppenheimer admits lying during an investigation. You might remember when we were studying the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer was the lead scientist on the Manhattan Project, often called the father of the atomic bomb. He does admit later that he lied to investigators about having friends who were communists. Years earlier in his career, he was part of a teachers' union that had a lot of communist members in the 20s and 30s. He had some communist sympathies anyway. He was also pretty wealthy, which is ironic. But he was not a fan of Russia. He knew that they mistreated people, but he didn't want to get his friends in trouble. So he said, oh, no, I don't know any communists. Well, they found out that that was not true. He had his security clearance revoked, and he was deeply humiliated that his country no longer trusted him. This is the guy who everyone thought was the modern Prometheus. He brought the nuclear age about, helped win the war for the United States and the Allies, and he develops nuclear weapons that help to keep the Soviet Union at bay. And now he is looked at as a liar and a possible communist. Next one. A resolution to censure Joseph McCarthy. Okay, so censure is a fancy way to say you're calling someone out officially for being a jerk. You see what I wrote here? A censure is when a person is officially reprimanded for doing something against the rules of an organization or doing something that makes the organization look bad. McCarthy is reprimanded for the way he went after suspected communists. Basically, he kept going off, and people were like, all right, man, we know communists are not fun. We know communism is not a great system. But if you start going and accusing people without trial, without evidence, it makes you look like a jerk too. Related to that is a statement of Alger Hiss. Now, Alger Hiss was a guy who was a high-up official in the State Department. He was accused of, during the 30s, actually spying for the Soviet Union. Now, he was questioned. He said, no, I never did anything like that. He denied it under oath. Now, remember, if you are under oath, whether it is in a deposition or on trial or in front of Congress, you can't lie. Lying then becomes not just not very nice, but it becomes a crime, and you can go to jail for that, and that's what happened. So evidence later came out that he was lying under oath. Now, even though he could not be charged with espionage or spying since it happened so long in the past, they did charge him with perjury. He went to jail, and he actually went through his life denying that he did anything wrong. He definitely did have communist leanings, but of course, what that really did in the end is questionable. Last two, a telegram from Senator Joseph McCarthy to Harry Truman. Basically, this is a telegram that McCarthy is telling Truman, there are communists in the government. They're coming to get us, and I'm warning you that if you don't do anything, he goes on to say that if he Truman doesn't take it seriously, he and the Democratic Party will be seen as a bedfellow or friends of international communism. So here's a senator calling out a president saying, "I'm warning you, and if you don't take this seriously, you're going to be looked at as a big jerk." Finally, we talked about the Rosenbergs, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, and what exactly did they try to give away? If you click this one, you will see a hand-drawn sketch of something called a high explosive lens. Now, lenses are used to focus things, but they're not just focusing light. They can focus energy, or in this case, an explosion. So this was apparently a sketch the Rosenbergs were trying to deliver to Soviet spies, and they did that. And this was something that was used in their trial and was found to be pretty damning. They were convicted. They were actually both executed in the electric chair somewhere in New York. I want to say Sing Sing Prison in upstate New York, but I could be wrong. I mean, I am the teacher, so I can't be expected to know everything, or maybe I should. Anyway, so there are all the documents. Now, what do you do with this? You want to take all these documents, you want to figure out what they're saying, and write a paragraph saying, is there an actual threat to the United States? You can say, absolutely, look at the Rosenbergs. They were trying to spy on us. Look at Alger Hiss. He was convicted of lying about spying on us. Look at McCarthy. He says he has the names of 40-some-odd communists in the State Department. We have to protect ourselves. This is a clear and present danger. Or you could take the other way and say, well, look at the U-2 thing. We were spying on the Russians, so it wouldn't be surprising if they were spying on us. And also, the biggest thing to keep in mind, communism's not illegal. Being a communist is fine. You as an American have a right to say, I want to be a communist, a socialist. I want to be a Democrat, a Republican, a member of the Green Party. I want to be an anarchist. I want to start my own country in my backyard, call it Quintopia or Quintoria, and I'm going to define and say I'm king. I mean, I won't get very far, but I could. So is this something that people deserve to lose their jobs because they happen to have certain political views that might be unpopular? Or are these people a real danger? If you need help, please, please, please ask us. I appreciate this. Everyone stay safe out there. Bye now.